Man, what's going on? Man?
Yeah.
Can y'all see my logo on the cameras back there? Can y'all see the Crown Global logo on my thumbs up back there? Y'all can? Okay, yeah, we can see the logo nice and Bryan Broaddus. Last time we waited to the end of the show to kind of talk about. Hey man, if y'all like what y'all see, if y'all like these high quality garments that we got going on, man, the link is in the description. All right, just go down there and click it. Appreciate y'all. Thank you very much. Love you to pieces. Mr. Broaddus.
Yes, sir.
Also, too, one more thing. There's a lot of people that's asking, is this out on the audio platforms? Indubitably. Y'all go find us wherever you want to listen to us. Go find us. We over there. But mostly we get busy on YouTube, so please. Bryan, man, we got Carolina this week. I was a little nervous about it, right? Because, I'm always worried about trap game kind of stuff.
Sure.
You make a great point with the desperate team theory type stuff. Carolina winning last week makes me feel a little better about their level of desperation.
Comeback win for them too, yeah.
I think the Cowboys actually have a motivation in this game.
They do.
Fire, perfect.
They do.
If you're 2-2-1, does that make you a 500 team, Bryan? What is that? What's the math on that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I would say that it's unfortunate. There's some games. I hope they don't go back and look at the Bears game as the one that maybe you needed that one and you didn't get it done. But I think right now you're kind of who you are. I mean, you've played well against some teams that are off to some pretty good starts.
Yeah.
You've played poorly against some teams. So you say what you want about the Bears. They're kind of in the same shape you are right now with the record. But I feel like the Dallas has let some of these get away. I think Dallas could have a better record, but they don't.
Yeah.
So now it's about time to try and put some wins together. And you've got some games that it's going to start getting a little bit more difficult. But the Carolina one, you need to start with this one, and then work your way past that to the others. But hopefully you get some guys back healthy too. That's another big thing kind of going on with this football team is what guys are going to come back and at what time. And maybe you'll catch a break here in the coming weeks.
Bryan, have you been hearing anything? Well, these trade talks kind of just taking over the Cowboy conversation out there on social media, Bryan. Maybe you've heard something, maybe you haven't. Maybe a team from another market has said something to you. You're very close with a lot of scouts, across the league and all that. You're close to people in Cowboy land.
Right.
I think the people are just kind of curious right now, Bryan. On your golden phone, that's the only one that I trust, Bryan.
Sure.
Have you been hearing any movement about possibly the Cowboys looking outside of the organization to go find some help?
Yeah, I think where you're going to see with the Cowboys is that we've had this discussion about what potentially could be their record. And I feel like talking to some folks, maybe this thing is going to hinge on how they play the next several weeks. If you're in a situation where you found a way to win a game in Carolina, you've beaten the Commanders, you play very well, potentially get a win there at Denver. Denver's kind of a team that's been a little bit up and down. Really nice victory last week against Philadelphia. But you find a way to stack some of these wins. I think it's going to be very easy for Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones to go out and try and make a trade. What I'm starting to hear, though, Voch, is there are teams, and you can look at the teams that are like the 1-4 teams.
Sure.
And these 1-4 teams look at their schedules and see potentially where they might be in the next 3 weeks. You look at what Cincinnati's done, and we've talked about maybe with Hendrickson, the edge there in Cincinnati. What does Cincinnati go do? They go out and they trade for Joe Flacco. They're trying to kind of save their season until they can get this thing with maybe Joe Burrow. Yeah. But all of a sudden, if Joe Flacco plays, the offense doesn't do well, and they continue to lose games, there are going to be some teams that are become sellers. An interesting team that I heard that might be a seller is the Baltimore Ravens.
They traded Oweh.
Yeah.
And they're not winning right now. Jackson is hurt.
Yeah.
They kind of got some funky things going on defense. That's kind of a surprise, but they haven't been good this year.
No, and that's the thing about it is they've really struggled. The schedule has been very difficult for them along the way, and and that's been a problem. They haven't been completely healthy. That's another problem. But you have some teams that you need to keep an eye on. Those 1-4 teams are the ones that tend to be the ones like, hey, if we don't find a way to win a couple more games, we're going to turn into some sellers. So it looks like there'll be some teams. I haven't got a gauge of talking to the gang of 7 about potential linebackers. I don't know about you, but I know we talked about this yesterday a little bit about would you go for an edge or would you go for a linebacker? In my heart of hearts, man, I want to believe that I probably would go for a linebacker. I think that if say a Roquan Smith trade, and I say this in a Roquan Smith way, that
top tier linebacker.
Yeah, the Chicago Bears gave up on him. They gave up on him, and they said, okay, we're going to move on, make that trade. If we start to hear some of that chatter, that maybe some of these teams that are 1-4, soon to be 1-6, might be more willing to move on with players. There's a lot of teams that are in that mode right now that are just waiting for 1 or 2 more losses to turn into, okay, we're sellers in this thing. And then I think Dallas would be buyers, but how they play the next 3 weeks, I think, determines that.
That'd be interesting, Bryan Broaddus. Just, we were kind of talking about what caliber are you going for? Does it have to be like an elite kind of guy? Can it be like an older dude that's kind of at the end of his career to help you out for a little bit? I was thinking of guys like Davis from the Saints, the linebacker side. DeMario Davis.
Right.
He's a guy that'll come in and help you right now. Kind of older. You wouldn't send a first rounder to go get him or anything like that. But guys like, we're talking about pass rushers. Yeah, Hendrickson is a name. Crosby is a name. But, like, would Bradley Chubb help you?
Right.
And I think Bradley Chubb might be better than your second or third. He might be better. He might be first best pass rusher.
Sure.
So like, does a trade like that, can that just help your defense get you a couple more stops, maybe 1 or 2 more stops? You would love for your defense to be elite and to get a top tier dude, but if that's not in the cards, I just need a defense that's like complementary to my offense that'll help me a little bit.
Yeah. Do you worry? And I think we've discussed this on a couple different platforms that you and I are on.
Sure.
Are you one player away from making this team? And let me ask you this first question then. Sure. Where do you see the Cowboys defense in regard to the 32? From 1 to 32, where do you see them? Are they a team that's 25? Are they 26? Are they 15? Where are they in your mind?
They're very much so bottom 5, bottom 6, somewhere around there.
Right.
I watched Carolina's defense. It made me feel a little better about mine. I watched Miami's defense. It made me feel a little better about mine. I do think, and this is the interesting part, Brian. And I just please, y'all, I'm not being a homer when I say this. For example, when I watch Miami's defense, that's like a bad defense.
Right.
This Cowboys is a defense that's playing badly.
Right.
It's like figuring it out on the go.
Right.
I feel like the Cowboys defense has the ability to be better in a couple of weeks if they tighten some things up, move some guys around, and maybe you'll need a guy or two, after these changes that you've made already.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe that'll kind of switch things up a little bit. I love what you say when you say Jerry's seeing if we win more games.
Right.
Because if you go out there and lose these next 5 games, hold your picks.
We'll move on.
But if you're truly gonna contend, go get some.
I think a lot of it has to do with not only your football team, but what's happening in the NFC as well.
Yes, sir.
If all of a sudden you're at the Eagles, what if the Eagles go out, Thursday night against the Giants and Jackson Dart all of a sudden finds a little magic and they, now the Eagles are losers of 2. And I think a lot of it kind of depends on, hey, where's the division? Are you within 1 game of the division lead? Yeah. How are you sitting in the conference standings? Are you right there with everybody else? Are you one of the top? Are you just outside of maybe being a division leader? I think that tells you a lot. And if you look at overall, though, we've yet to see somebody in the NFC just become a dominant team.
Yeah.
Maybe Detroit's on their way. Sure. Maybe Detroit's going to be one of those teams that's going to be like that.
But Green Bay, Philly, Washington,
they're all
49ers, they're not scaring the shit out.
They're not yet. Not yet. Listen, San Francisco is doing a lot of the same things that you're doing. They're surviving. Yeah. I mean, they're surviving without their quarterback. Yeah, their quarterback's playing at at a high level. Mac Jones playing at a very, very high level right now and getting those wins. But I think how the division looks, how the conference looks, how your own team looks. But I kind of feel like, and I asked you the question because can Dallas, if they make a minor move, will that make them a mid-pack defense? Yeah. Or was it going to take a major move to make them up? Are they so far down the list in your eyes that one move will not elevate them to mid-pack? And maybe you'll tell me one trade and everybody coming back will get me to mid-pack.
Getting healthy and Max Crosby still keeps you in the middle. It doesn't make you an elite defense, you know? And if you add like a Bradley Chubb, Brian, I honestly think it'll be like the same result, you know, because the rest of your defense isn't really built like that. What the Cowboys have to do is, even if they don't make a defense that's middle of the pack or like elite or something like that, can it be somewhat complementary to what Dak is doing?
Right.
It'll still be unfair to the Cowboys offense because at that point they're not allowed to have a bad game.
Right.
Like, even if you do get, you know,
they're not allowed to have a bad game right now.
Never.
Yeah.
At no point are they allowed. Like, even if you go, well, Brian, if the Cowboys offense go out there and score 35 points, you really just need the defense to hold other teams to 28 points.
Right.
And you win football games. That means, damn, dog, now Dak's not allowed to score 28 points.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is plenty.
Yeah.
Which is plenty. But they have to, it puts pressure, pressure on your offense to have to be heroic. I would love for the defense to take all kinds of pressure off. You know how we look at how you look at the 49ers, you look at the Eagles, they play football on defense in a way that the offense can just kind of hang in there.
Right.
And maybe win at the end.
Right.
That ain't how Dak's playing football. Dak's playing hero ball.
Yeah.
Theoretically, like he's playing, sound within the offense, but he's having to be superhero.
Right.
The damn Jets still caught up to you at the end. It was garbage time, but Brian, honestly, I think what the Cowboys will do, I think that they're going to value those ones. I think they're going to value the twos. I think if there's any trades that they're going to try to make, it's probably going to be like a day 3 kind of guy. I think the
compensatory, because right now you're sitting without a 3 and a 4. Am I correct about that?
Sure. I'll look it up just to confirm.
Yeah, I asked you. I didn't mean to ask you a question, but I think because you're talking about the Mingo trade, and you're talking about the Pickens trade.
Cowboys have 2 1s, a 2, right?
Right.
So now they got a 4, 2 5s, and 2 7s.
So the 4's still there with you. Then
the 4 is there, but they're missing a 6.
Yeah.
Yep. So they got so they're missing 3 and they're missing 6, but they got 2 5s and 2 7s.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're still sitting in a pretty good spot, though. I mean, if you want to, though. I was kind of thinking, though, that if you didn't have that 3 and you didn't have that 4, but it would make you kind of, because if you're going to go after one of these big fish, you might have to give your 1 and your 2.
Yeah.
To go get one of those big fish.
That's a big ass fish, Bryan Broaddus. Give up 1 and a 2, but you got another 1, so they might do it.
Yeah.
They might do it.
Well, yeah.
I'm gonna keep the phone on the desk and ask you, have you heard anything injury wise? Any updates on that?
Yeah. What right now is there's a couple of different guys right now. We'll see what happens with Guyton and the concussion protocol. That one's looking like it's trending the right way. We've had discussions about Nate Thomas and his availability. I think this is Guyton's job still. I think, though, that Nate Thomas needs to continue to play, though, whether it's they get him some work. And I mean, let him play if, in fact, that Guyton's a starter and also Steele's a starter. We saw in the Green Bay game that they were willing to put Nate Thomas in some series to get him some work. So I think that even if Guyton comes back, that still needs to be the plan. But Guyton trending that way. The thing with Tyler Smith, this one might be, can you hold off one more week? Can you hold off? We might be right now, Voch, in a situation where Tyler Smith is going to play 3 weeks and then need a break. Play 3 weeks and need a break. He's dealing with a knee. He's dealing with, that's tendonitis. He's dealing with a hip problem. He's dealing with an ankle problem as well. So all these things are coming into play right now for him. So can you buy him another week? And then it turns into, okay, it's the Commanders game, it's the Denver game, it's the Arizona game, and then you get him to the bye. And then you get him another week off and then get back into action. So how you manage Tyler Smith through the season, I think is going to be number one on their mind. It's encouraging that Adeniji went in there and played at a really nice level. But the games are going to get tougher. The defenses are going to get tougher. But making sure that Tyler Smith is ready to go, I think, is number one. If they could buy one more week, I think that would be the ideal thing for them right now. On the other end of it with Booker and then with Lamb, they've really been very encouraged by what's happened with them. They were a couple of weeks removed from getting injured, and now you're in a situation where they're back on the field and doing work. They're very encouraged by that. I don't think you'll see them this week. I think that we're looking at we'll look at the Commanders game, we'll look at the Broncos game as a possibility as well for that. But the guy that most likely will come back as we see it would be the left tackle, would be Guyton. And then now you have to figure out how do you want to get Nate Thomas more involved as well.
Appreciate you, sir.
Thank you.
Man, Bryan Broaddus, I look on my next-gen stats.
Yeah.
I watched the film first because that's just who I am.
Yes.
I watched a little bit of film first on the Carolina Panthers. I say, cool, I bet. I noticed that they weren't very good.
Yeah.
It's all right. Got some little bright spots here and there, but
sure.
I don't think it's enough to, kick your ass over the course of 60 minutes, but we'll see. I look on my next-gen stats there, Bryan Broaddus. I say, damn, boy, Carolina's a top 10 rushing team.
Yeah.
Efficiency.
Right.
I say, that ain't right.
How all of a sudden they become, this juggernaut running the ball?
That ain't right.
Yeah.
What I do, Brian, is I play a good old game of, what if. I say, what if I erase this anomaly of a Miami game?
Right.
Them characters are much closer to 25th in the league.
Sure.
Brian, I'm just looking at my numbers here. Prior to the Miami's defensive debacle here, Rico Dowdle rushed for 28 carries for 55 yards over 4 games.
Sure.
Chuba Hubbard, which was their starter,
right,
probably won't be playing calf strain.
Yeah, calf strain.
But over 4 games, 58 carries, 217 yards. That's still not fascinating.
Right.
But cool, bet. They're not a great rushing football team.
No.
They had a fantastic day versus the Miami Dolphins.
Right.
I think it starts with the offensive line. I think the second big factor to that is they can't get going in the passing game.
Right.
Bryce Young's not playing very well.
No.
They do, which is interesting because one thing that I look up every single week is like deep ball attempts.
They're terrible.
We haven't played a team that attempts the deep ball a whole bunch.
Sure.
It's funny, Carolina makes some deep ball attempts.
Yeah.
They probably only hit one.
They don't hit many of them.
To Ted McMillan. He's the main target of the deep ball stuff. But he doesn't always, is not always there.
Right.
Bryce Young is really having a hard time.
He is.
Part of it could be his wide receivers aren't really getting open.
Right.
Part of it him maybe not seeing it as much. If the offense is kind of dialed down in that way, if a defense decides to take away the simplistic reads of it, Bryce Young's not a guy that improvises all that well, Brian. So when I look at this, in theory, the Cowboys defense should be just fine, but we know how the Cowboys defense operates.
Yeah.
If this is a shootout amongst this offense versus Cowboys offense, I feel good about the Cowboys being able to put points up and this offense not being able to keep up. But I do think that the Cowboys defense still has question marks to where I could see Carolina getting a couple good drives out on you, but I don't see them being talented enough to give you a hard time throughout the game.
Yeah.
I'll leave it there. Then we can get to the offensive line. Where you at with that so far?
Yeah, I do like what you're saying though, because I think the Miami game, very eye opening though, the way that Miami had a 17-point lead in this game and just needed to get some stops, just needed to find a way, and they couldn't. And what Carolina did, and Voch, this is what I think is going to happen. I think some of the things that maybe that Dave Canellis and the staff at Carolina is going to look at is how Dallas played run defense last week against the Jets. Sure. I think they're going to look at that. And the one thing that the Panthers were able to do against the Dolphins, they mauled them up front. Once they started running the football, once they figured out that they could just take it to the Dolphins, they did. And that's where Rico Dowdle had his success. And the one thing I notice about when they do run the ball, there's always some kind of motion involved with it. And they do it a different way. You get the flips, you get the zone plays, you get the inside runs. There's always something kind of involved with some kind of movement, but it's run in a lot of different ways. Yeah, the early games, they didn't have nearly the success doing that. But against the Dolphins, they found something. And we all kind of understand Rico Dowdle. He's a guy that's going to run tough. He's going to take the ball to the edge. He's going to do his very best to run through tackles. He's going to break some tackles. The Dolphins tackled very, very poorly in that game. We've seen the Cowboys tackle very poorly. Excuse me. We've seen him tackle very poorly in games as well. If I'm Dave Canellis and the staff, I'm going to test Dallas run defense in this game. Yeah, there's some things. You're absolutely right about Bryce Young. I think he has a problem in the pocket. I think his tackles, I know we're going to get into that. I think his offensive tackles are a big, big issue there. But I think they're going to try and test Dallas running the ball first. I think they are honestly a little bit terrified of Dallas's offense and the way Dallas can put up points. So I think they're going to do everything in their power to do very similar to what the Jets did in that first drive of the game. Try and keep the ball for 7 minutes, but don't kick field goals. Try and get those touchdowns. They when they get down the red zone, it's usually a tight end. We've seen Renfro make some catches, Leggett make some catches. We've seen that. It just hasn't been Tet McMillan making those catches down there. But this is where I think that the Cowboys the concerns need not throwing the football so much, but how are you going to play run defense in this game? Because if Carolina feels like that they can run the football, then Dallas might be in for a long day that way. We'll see if Carolina can score from running the football that way. But Dallas's offense can also put a lot of pressure on this Panther offense and keep them from running the ball if, in fact, they're able to take advantage of some things on their side.
Man, Brian, just to be clear, this ain't no damn crystal stair for the defense. You know what I'm saying? They still got to come out and play. I don't have all the faith in the world, in them. They still have to come out and play. If this was any other defensive unit, I feel fantastic versus Carolina's offense. It's just not good. The Cowboys defense ain't good neither. So that's where the matchup kind of comes down to, Brian. Watching the Carolina receivers, they got names that you recognize, but it's not all coming together. It's not all and they could be good receivers, but if it's not working in the passing game, it doesn't matter.
Well, yeah.
Teteroy McMillan down the field.
Right.
Does some jump ball stuff, contested catches. That's what he does. That's what he's always been kind of great at.
Yes.
He's been like the main guy, the main guy that gets anything done. Xavier Leggett, who I was a big fan of in college there, he hadn't been doing very much. Renfro hasn't been doing very much. Jimmy Horn, surprisingly, because he's a little bitty. Yeah. He'll go out there and make a handful of catches there.
Sure.
I didn't think Jimmy Horn was even going to be a guy that'll be active for him, but Jimmy Horn has made some plays here. Carolina wide receivers, I don't think that they're anything special in comparison to the wide receivers that you've been playing against, Brian.
Yeah.
I don't even want to waste a whole bunch of time on them. I think the biggest key to dealing with Carolina is the offensive line.
Yeah.
Now, Brian, you mentioned it earlier. You said it great. Tackles haven't been great.
No.
First round pick, Ikem Ekwonu. When he was at Louisville, I was a big fan of his.
Yeah.
He was a guy that had a bunch of traits. You got to work hard in the league. He just looked like a lazy player right now. He just doesn't, pick his feet up and put them back down fast enough for me. Doesn't play with a bunch of technique. He got all the length and traits in the world. You just don't see him putting it all together. I think if you're active enough, I think you can really give him a long day there. Taylor Moden, who's a veteran. Not overly talented though.
Not at all.
He's a guy that could be taken advantage of. Here's the problem. Cowboys pass rush. If you rush them straight up and down, they'll probably block you today.
Yeah.
They'll probably have a Pro Bowl day versus you today. They got a cat on the practice squad, a tackle named Michael Tarquin, Bryan Broaddus. Tarquin. Yeah. I never heard of him. Do you know who that is?
No.
Brian, I bet if anything happened to this right tackle or left tackle, if Michael Tarquin goes in there and plays tackle, I'm not going to have any kind of faith that the Cowboys can get pressure on him, Brian. I never heard of this guy. But if the Cowboys, and Flus in particular, if he remains consistent to what he did last week, and bring gap exchange, bring stunts. I'm probably going to break down on film Thursday how stunts kind of break them down a little bit.
Sure.
They don't pass slants along very well. So if the Cowboys are consistent and they learn from successes, then they can create pressure moving this thing around. Assuming that's how they're going to go after tackles. As far as the interior, Damian Lewis, has some power to him.
Yeah,
not great feet.
Mm-hmm.
I think Olsen can have a fantastic day against him. Cade Mays, Braden Christensen, fine.
Yeah.
Cool players, not Pro Bowl type guys. Like I said, in gap exchange, stunt world, they get turned a whole bunch. But I think at the end of the day, Kenny Clark is just more talented than guys like them. Solomon Thomas can just like man them up a little bit. Mozzie can probably have a day against these guys. So just like previous weeks, Brian, interior is probably going to have to lead the thing off.
Yeah.
Edges, I don't have all the faith in the world. But if Flus can make the adjustment from last week and say, hey, man, stunts, gap exchanges work. Let's bring that to this week, and they find a way to get better from that. Then I think that's how you can get to Bryce Young.
Yeah, Bryce Young is a shorter guy, as we all know. So he's a guy that, it's going to be a hard time for him to see over the line, and he has to kind of move around in order to find space. Very reminiscent of what Drew Brees used to be. Drew used to have to move to be able to see where he needed to throw the football. I think these receivers are not benefiting at all because of the way he's been playing. He's struggled in the pocket. He's struggled with turnovers, especially when you get after him. Voch, I don't know about you, but these tackles, I thought they set really deep.
Yeah.
And when you set deep, you're trying to keep those defenders. You're trying to make sure you get in position and then anchor down and make sure that these edges don't get there, because you're trying to just keep, and then the ball needs to be out. But when these tackles set as deep as they have, I've seen opponents just run them back into Bryce Young.
Sure.
So when that happens, now the pocket gets squeezed on him that way, and he tries to spin out, or he'll just fall down, and get sacked and maybe fumble the ball. He's had some of these problems before with some of the ball security when opponents have gotten to him. He doesn't really trust what's going on with this offensive line, but they are going to try and do the best they can to protect. You're absolutely right. Dallas needs to come in this game with the idea of, hey, these guys aren't the best athletes up front. Sure. There is some slow-footedness with their offensive line. I wouldn't be surprised if you see some of the similar things that we saw, the way that they were able to get Houston home with the two penetrators and then the loop over the top. I would do things to try and make this offensive line have to adjust to you moving. And if they don't do that, they're going to be in for a long day, especially at these offensive tackle spots.
Brian, speaking of quickness on the inside, pardon me, have we heard anything about Perrion Winfrey this week?
No, have not. And, and we'll see. He's due to be able to start practicing this week. So I have not heard anything about I'm going to try and reach out to some folks and see, okay, when's the practice window? Again, it's very similar to what we've seen when they talk about Mingo. It's like, okay, well, he didn't play for 4 weeks. You got to re-ramp them back up again. So we might be in a ramp-up situation. It might be, too, is this the week that we also see Jay Toya back into the lineup, though? In
terms of matchup, I think this would be a great day for the quicker inside guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything kind of quick would work here. I know we've seen Mozzie Smith the last several weeks. Maybe get JT back. Winfrey, I think, would be. I don't know. Like I said, I could see Winfrey, sitting out for maybe a couple more weeks, get him back into physical playing shape, and then make an adjustment from there.
I think this Panthers offense is kind of cut and dry, Brian. I think what they are is what they are. I don't think there's a whole bunch of analysis to it. Rico's going to run the ball physically. Yeah. I think you could tackle him, though. I think the Dolphins did a bad job tackling him.
They did a really bad job of tackling.
And it kind of got worse for them later in the game,
Yeah, I'll tell you what I was impressed by was that the fact that the Panthers, though, coming off the football, they were able to get movement. They were playing on the Dolphins side of the line of scrimmage. Sure. Their linebackers were fighting blocks. Their defensive linemen were getting turned. They were getting knocked down. They were getting knocked off the ball 2 and 3 yards. I just think that Carolina has to look at their best option in this game would be a very, very similar game plan than what they did at the Dolphins when they were down 17-0. All of a sudden they said, listen, let's just take the ball out of Young's hands and let's see if we can run the ball and make some things happen. And they were able to do that. But I just kind of feel like I think they're Dallas's pass rush can, what you saw with the Jets can make you nervous that way. Mm-hmm. But up until that point of the Jets game, it really wasn't a factor, and teams had been throwing the football. I wonder now if teams are going to start to say, okay, wait a minute. Nobody's really tested Dallas's run defense. The Jets did. And then, a little bit of what the Bears did. The Bears in that second half of that game, Bears kind of had anything that they wanted to, throwing the football and then running the football, especially that 19-play drive that they had, running the ball. It is going to be, I think Dallas's run defense is going to have to show up. If it shows up, though, they'll have a really good day defensively, because I just don't think Bryce Young can make enough plays against you throwing the football.
I think the Jets did a pretty decent job running the football because two reasons. I think they do have a better offensive line than Carolina, and Dallas kind of missed tackles early.
They did
a lot of times, right? So that's something that you can just kind of clean up, right? Like, hey, you hope.
Yeah.
Damn straight, Brian. You hope. Hey, guys, we need to tackle better.
We need to tackle better, yeah.
Hopefully that.
Well, Dallas is one of the two teams going into this game that were struggling with the tackles. Them and the Chargers were the two of the teams. They had multiple players. They had 13 players that had multiple missed tackles.
Yeah.
Going into that game.
You would just hope that we're not missing those, and the fact that this Carolina offensive line is much worse.
Yeah,
much worse. Rico Dowdle's not going to beat you up by himself.
Yeah, I could say he was really effective against the Dolphins. I mean, he had the long runs. I think that's the one thing that would concern me the most. I just going in this game, I don't think it's Bryce Young throwing the football. I think it's Rico Dowdle, and if they can get something, if Dallas, it's really going to be up to Dallas's offense to be able to, like what they did against the Jets, put up a lot of points, and then take Carolina out of their ability to run the football. If Carolina then if they have to abandon the run, then Carolina's clearly in trouble in this game.
Should be a cool little day, Brian, bro. Should be fun. We're gonna come back tomorrow and break down this Panthers defense. So you guys, please be sure to tap in with us. We appreciate all the feedback that you guys give us down there in the comment section. We read it all. Not only do we read it all, but we come to work and we have a meeting about what we read in the comments. Yeah. We had a long conversation about y'all, so appreciate you. More work coming. Please tap in. Don't forget, if you want some of this lovely merch, some of these beautiful Crown Global Doing All Right garments, the link is in the description for y'all to go do that. We appreciate y'all tapping in with us on that. If you're looking for this on an audio platform, go over there and check it. We put those up as well. Give us a look on our social medias, not just on Twitter, but on IG and TikTok at Crown Global Media. Appreciate y'all for tapping in with us. And hey, that's Bryan Broaddus. I'm VOCHLOMBARDI. Till next time, all right? Crown.